Hello and welcome back to a brand new episode of Pick a Side Live Reaction. We got a lot of game fours we got to talk about. It didn't feel like this in the moment, but every single series that was played today has went to 3-1. Some of them very surprising. I think the first one that's the most surprising we're going to talk about to start off this show. But how are you fellas doing? How are you doing, Dallas? How are you doing, Drew?
Joel, how are you doing, bud?
Doing great, man. Got a W today. Tatum had a great game. Mets
Tatum
blew a
looked good.
disgusting game, but Celtics won. I can't complain.
Yeah, Tatum was OD in the fourth. Didn't have the greatest 24 hours. I should have known today was going to be a bad day. Woke up at 3 a.m. Couldn't go back to sleep for whatever reason. Tried to go back to bed before softball. I had softball at 9 o'clock. Woke up at 8:30. Was late for softball. I get back from softball after we lose both games. I'm excited to watch my Lakers. Shout out to the Knicks. Shout out to the Knicks. At least they were able to get a W. Jalen Brunson. I mean, he just continues to amaze me. Shout out to Karl-Anthony Towns. Shout out to the Big Purr. Shout out to Bodega Cat. Dude's a legend. Then my Lakers come on. Chat, we're cooked. We are cooked. I'm staying optimistic because I have LeBron James and Luka Doncic. However, the Wolves are nice. They're nice. And it's not looking great. But we move. We stay optimistic because that's all we can do.
After last stream I did with John for game 3, I told him I think the Wolves are winning this series. I think they look like the better team, and they have. I think the Lakers were banking on star power, and LeBron and Luka have been playing great. Game 3, LeBron played great. Luka didn't play that well. This game, both of them played really well. Austin Reeves has kind of been the odd man out for the entirety of the series. He's been up and down. He hasn't been the most efficient, and he hasn't been impactful defensively. Before I talk about Minnesota and where I think they're going right and all the things they're doing, I just think that the Lakers, they can't go small for 48 minutes. Jackson Hayes, he hasn't played much in this series at all. He's getting iced out. And in the second half, JJ Redick made a bold move to just play every single starter in the second half. Well, small ball lineup because Jackson Hayes didn't play in the second half, but DFS and Rui and Reeves and LeBron and Luka, and they were just visibly gassed. And I think it was a moment where JJ Redick kind of showed his inexperience as a coach. You even see with the Warriors and how lifeless they look against the Rockets when Steph's not on the floor. He at least gives Steph Curry like 2 to 3 minutes to catch his breath so he's not gassed out by the end of the game. And do I think that in the second half there were moments where Gabe Vincent could have gave somebody a breather for 3 minutes, or Jackson Hayes could have came in for a little while, or Vando? I do think there were moments where you could have maybe given them some rest, but playing them the entirety of the second half, I feel like was coaching malpractice. And then they just got gassed out and weren't able to hit shots in the fourth quarter. Luka wasn't good in the fourth. Neither was Reeves. LeBron's defense showed up in the fourth, but offensively, he didn't score. Overall, I think that the Lakers just have got to outmatch this series, and Minnesota has proven to be a much better team.
Yeah, I was definitely wrong about this series. I felt pretty confident going into this that the Lakers would be able to handle business the way that they finished off the regular season, at least when everyone was healthy. Of course, they dealt with a couple injuries down the stretch there to LeBron, but when this team was healthy and together with Luke and LeBron, they were one of the best teams in the NBA, and the defense was looking good. And although the offense was kind of sporadic and inconsistent throughout the end of the regular season, you just always had confidence that with that offensive talent, Luka, Reeves, LeBron James, JJ Redick, that you'd be able to figure it out once the postseason comes around. And I agree with you, Joel. I do think the Timberwolves have played better just overall in this series. But even still, almost all of these games, except one, have gone down to the wire, and they've gone neck and neck, and it's come down to the last few possessions in some of these, and just some crucial 3 or 4 minute stretches that really changes the outcome of these games and of this series so far. So I was definitely wrong, and Minnesota fans have been on our ass already. I see them in the comments today. I seen them in the comments of our old video going back when we all said, or not we all, but I said there's a better chance this ends in 5 with the Lakers than Minnesota wins. I know Riv was also in that boat saying the Lakers are going to win this easily. I'm not even going to think about it. So definitely discredit Minnesota. I think I overlooked how deep they are. I think I overlooked how great of a player Anthony Edwards can be in the playoffs, the type of riser he has, even though he did it last year. And more than anything, it's just a couple of these role players, Jaden McDaniels and Nasri specifically, that like I know they're good players, and specifically Jaden at the end of the regular season was on such an offensive heater. I didn't put too much stock into it. I didn't think that was something that was going to easily transfer over into the playoffs. But I think from the Lakers side of you, the biggest thing I'm surprised on is just how unplayable Jackson Hayes is. Because I remember when we were going through our overview, we were, going through questions we have for each team. And one of my questions was, what does Jackson Hayes look like in a playoff setting? And I was like, I know he's not going to go out there and play like 30 minutes a night, right? And be in all these closing lineups every game. But if you would have told me every game is going to play less than 10 minutes, in this game 4, he's going to play 4 minutes, not see the court in the second half. And he got pulled early in that first quarter because he picked up 2 fouls, as well as a technical foul, I believe, early in that first quarter, just completely out of it. That's something that's been shocking me, is just how great Jackson was for this team, really throughout the whole regular season, but specifically once Luka got there, what he was doing, being a vertical threat, being a rim protector. It's just been completely negated in this playoff series. So all the credit to the Wolves. And I understand, Drew. You're down 3-1. It's not over. Got LeBron James. He's done it before. I'm with you. I don't think you should count yourself out by any means, but you also have these games where Luka is giving you like 35 to 38 a night, and then in the fourth quarter, it just isn't enough because he's gassed. I think today we really saw LeBron gassed in the fourth quarter, didn't score at all. He was so great defensively that I can't be too mad. He was consistently getting steals, getting blocks. We got a blocked by James Cole, which was awesome, but offensively, you could tell that playing the entire second half definitely wore on them. So I was wrong about this series, man. Minnesota, I think, is going to end up pulling it off. And I feel pretty confident about them potentially in a second round matchup, too.
So, in trying to justify JJ's decision to play the guys the full 24 minutes in the second half, the only reason for me would be you go small, you run these 5 because obviously these are the 5 that can space the most. They can get out and run, can semi-defend, but really what it does is keep Rudy Gobert off the court. I watched Rudy Gobert in the early parts of this game cause nothing but havoc. He was really great in the minutes that he played on defense. And I think for the entirety of this series, I think I need to do a better job of giving Rudy his respect because what he's done on the defensive side, going out on the perimeter, in moments of having to guard Luka Doncic, in moments where, of course, him as a rim protector, he's one of the best rim protectors in basketball. And I watched it today. Rui at the start of this game looked like a shell of himself because Rudy Gobert was just making him question every single decision that he was making, and he was missing easy layups and just missing opportunities that you don't normally see Rui go and have. But when we adopted the small ball and stuck to it for the full 24, it allowed us to play a certain style of basketball and force Minnesota to play a certain style. That being said, we couldn't guard. And they were able to get downhill as much as they wanted to, whether it was Luka, whether it was Rui, whether it was Reeves. They were just picking their matchups. And even when we wanted DFS to go ahead and play defense on Anthony Edwards, they were just switching and screening and getting Rui into action or getting Luka into action. And they were just going and blowing by and getting downhill. I give a lot of credit to the Wolves in that fourth quarter. Because, yes, we were gassed. That's the easy way to say it. We were out of energy. We weren't hitting our shots. Even though LeBron James was unbelievable defensively, everybody's going to hold on to the fact that he didn't score any points. Luka Doncic, I know you were getting your troll tweets off, and understandably so. He wasn't strong in the fourth quarter. But again, we had to play such an excessive amount of minutes in this game, both LeBron and Luka Doncic, for us to come down to a nail biter. I think that it's an unfortunate circumstance. I think that, Joel, I'm with you 100%. I think Gabe should have at least spelled one of the 2 guys, given them a break. Reeves basically sat the entire first half because he had 3 fouls early in this game. He could have been one that could have been working the offense and initiating the offense while Luka and or LeBron got some minutes. He's done a great job since Luka Doncic has come to the Lakers of staggering LeBron in his minutes and Reeves as well, and always having at least one ball handler at minimum on the basketball court. The fact that we didn't see any change in the second half truly shocked me. And there was a moment, like the fan in me that was thinking, all right, well, LeBron's kind of in cruise control. I'm watching Luka. This is like with 6 minutes left. This is Luka's time. And LeBron's going to save himself for around 2:30, and then he's going to start to use his energy again. And I just never saw that offensive urgency from him and or Luka Doncic. But again, LeBron, to me, his defense was so key in this game. And the 2 stops back to back, the huge block on Dante, and then the steal to go ahead, get out to DFS. DFS goes ahead and hits the go ahead 3. We had a chance to seal this game. But that's where I go back to giving credit to the Wolves. So many big time shots were hit by them today. Anthony Edwards is a superstar. Everything that you want in a player, Anthony Edwards has. He has confidence. He has jump shooting. He has the athleticism. He has just about everything. And this has been by far his most impressive performance as a playmaker. He has shown me so much in these few games as a playmaker that I haven't seen from Anthony Edwards on a consistent enough basis. But in this series, he has been near flawless. Naz Reid hasn't been the most consistent, but he goes and he hits some big-time jumpers today. Jaden McDaniels, I mean, this really has been a breakout for him. He's been excellent. I have to give nothing but credit to the Wolves and tip my cap. I'm going to hold out hope on my boys because what else do I have? Of course, it's LeBron, it's Luka, it's Reeves. Reeves, who didn't play great in the first half. I thought that all things considered, I thought he put a solid performance out in the second half. It's just our defense. It's a tough look when you just have nothing but blow-bys and it's easy attempts that either lead to a kick out and a wide open shot, or we're getting an attempt and then they're going to the free throw line. It's an unfortunate end. Obviously you anticipate that we would be the more clutch team given our personnel. But again, you just have to tip your cap to the Wolves. They hit some big time shots and they have a big time player in Anthony Edwards.
I think there's a couple things that people got wrong. The main one being about this series is that just because the Mavericks beat the Wolves in 5 last year, that the Lakers are going to do the same thing just because they have Luka. That Mavericks team was awesome. They had so much depth. They had centers. Last year in the Western Conference Finals, Lively and Gafford combined for 26 and 15 on 90% true shooting a night. Luka is at his best operating in a pick and roll when he has a center that can roll to the basket because it threatens a lob threat, which is an easy bucket, and that mid-range shot. When you have just 3-point shooters that cannot catch lobs and they're just stationary, you get a lot of one-on-ones. You get a lot of just sideline passes, horizontal passes. You're not threatening the court vertically at all. And that's the biggest reason why we saw the Mavericks go from a team that didn't make the playoffs to making the NBA Finals just with 2 center additions that are good centers, but they're not great centers. They're just good centers. And the lack of thereof for the Lakers is a reason why they haven't been able to punish these small ball lineups, because they're playing into the Wolves' hands. The most efficient offensive rating lineup in the NBA, the Wolves have it when they go small, when they have Naz Reid at the 5 and Julius Randle at the 4. I think another thing people got wrong is how great Julius Randle is as a player. Julius Randle has played amazing for the Wolves all year long. And I said it before, I'll say it again. He is a better fit next to Anthony Edwards than Cat because he can play make and he can take pressure off of Anthony Edwards as a playmaker. Julius Randle can dictate decisions. He can play bully ball. He can hit that short mid-range shot. He's been hitting his 3-point shots this series. And Randle has been at his best. And I think Anthony Edwards is the type of player that exudes confidence in other players. And he's always pushing his teammates to be the best possible versions of themselves. We saw after game 3, Anthony Edwards said, you got to be more aggressive. And in game 4, Randle came out and he was the most aggressive version of himself in the playoffs. This is the best 4 stretch in the playoffs that he's ever had. And it gets forgotten that over the last 5 seasons, Randle has been 22-9-5 in 300 plus games, but people wanted to judge him on 15 playoff games when half of those he was hurt for. Jaden McDaniels' offensive leap was very real. Defender, what he is, even though Luka is getting his points, he's going to do that against anybody. He averaged 30 in the finals against the Celtics, and we still say Jaylen Brown locked them up. He's still going to get his points, but Jaden McDaniels has made him work for everything. And then offensively, he's hunting mismatches and being able to have double-doubles. He's been more aggressive as a rebounder. Gobert in his limited minutes has been awesome. And then Anthony Edwards. I think he's a top 5 player on the planet. And I think he's in that tier right now with the Lukas, with the Tatums. Anthony Edwards is that good. He's about to go to his second straight conference finals this year because I think the Wolves are going to make the conference finals. 2 straight Western Conference finals for a franchise that has been devoid of success before he got there. I don't make this comparison lightly. He is to the Timberwolves what Joe Burrow was to the Bengals. Just as soon as he got there, it was instant success. He was clearly the leader and the face of the franchise, and they go as far as he takes them. He's been better than Luka this series. I never thought that Anthony Edwards would outplay Luka and go band for him. Offensively, Luka has been a little bit better, but defensively is where Anthony Edwards has the edge. He's been the best player in a series with LeBron and Luka. In his young career, he's eliminated KD, D-Book, Jokic, LeBron, Luka in the playoffs. This dude is legendary. He's a great player, and he's an elite playoff performer.
Series not over. All right, series not over.
I think they got
that soliloquy.
We're just skipping over the second round.
That soliloquy could sound nice come Tuesday. That being said, don't count out the king. Don't count out the Don. We got a shot. I don't think that if we obviously today was must win. And I think our logic was that we were obviously going to have some rest and that we were going to go ahead and be able to go ahead and kind of get, since we're back at even keel, allow us the luxury of, hey, we go out there and we win game 5. Obviously, that's amazing. If we go out there and lose, we live to see another day. I thought we were in desperation mode today. And that was evident when we played all 24 minutes of the same 5 guys in the second half. But, dude, there's nothing negative to say about the Timberwolves as a whole. And Anthony Edwards, I mean, this dude is exceptional. And I think that his ability, his confidence, just getting downhill, again, that was a big part of his game last season. We didn't really see that much this year because of the lack of spacing. And then, obviously, his jump as a 3-point shooter. But then him attacking the basket this game specifically, when he had that quick in and out move, just get past the first defender, it put fear in my heart every single time because I knew it was 2 points. He was unstoppable today. He's been unstoppable for a good portion of this series. And then you want to talk about the defense as well. Reeves is having a hard time because of the confidence that Anthony Edwards has on the defensive side.
He'll lock him up. That's easy money.
On the defensive side.
That's easy.
Really, it's really what he's been able to do at a high level. It's his constant cardio as well. The fact that he's out there, he's given 100% on offense, and then on defense, he's running his mouth. He's talking trash to Austin. And Austin, you could see that in moments he's rattled by it. And his decision-making is not what we've seen for a good portion of this season. So you have to give praise to them. And then I didn't even mention Julius Randle. So thank you for acknowledging that for me. Julius Randle, he came out these last couple of games and he's setting the tone for them. While Anthony Edwards begins to get going and then inevitably takes over the game, Julius Randle's coming out the gates and he's backpacking the team. He was fantastic to start this game in the first half. More importantly, second half obviously turned to the Ant-Man show. But Julius, just the tone setting that he's had this series, again, a big question for me when Minnesota was Julius Randle, and that's 100% right because of what he's shown us in the past. But in this series, he's catering to his strengths. He's not deterring from that, and he's thriving at the highest level right now.
Ant had 17 points in the fourth quarter. He took over that quarter in a way that very few players in the history of the game could take over a quarter.
Okay.
That's how great he was. And Julius Randle, I've never seen Julius Randle play with this much energy and passion. When he made those comments before the series and he said that this is the first time in my career that I feel like I'm playing for something, I think that it was a bit disrespectful to his tenure with the Knicks. First year, I get it, because in his first year, our team was terrible and he carried that roster when we made the playoffs. But Julius Randle is diving for loose balls. He's making an extra efforts. Like this, these are things that he was criticizing New York for not doing. Being lazy and not doing those things. And Minnesota has unlocked a different version of him. And Randle and Cat are both thriving in their new situations, and they're doing really well. So I think you can have all the optimism you want in this series. I do think it's the Timberwolves. Whether it's 5 or 6, I think the Wolves are going to close out this series in 6 at the very least. And I think the Warriors have had a lot of trouble with a young Rockets team that cannot generate any offense. I just don't see them keeping up with the athletes that Minnesota has, especially if Jimmy's not 100%, because that injury is going to linger on for a little bit. It's going to hurt. That's that he took a really nasty fall. So the Timberwolves look legit. And I'll go back to when Riv said who's the toughest matchup for the OKC Thunder in the conference finals. And he said it was the Minnesota Timberwolves. And now would be one hell of a matchup. I think Minnesota and OKC would be a hell of a Western Conference finals.
It would be. Just final thoughts on the Lakers. We could let Drew get out of here. Big day tomorrow. I think Ant at this point has surpassed Luka for me. I think going into next season, I would have Ant probably one spot ahead of Luka.
And Tatum, for sure.
I think Luka, it's hard because the numbers he's put up this series are silly, right? Like he's giving you 35 a night. He's giving you basically triple-double numbers, at least double-double with rebounds. His assists have been a bit more sporadic, especially back in game one. But it is going back to last finals, like how much he wears down throughout a game is definitely alarming. Like last year in the finals, he would have 20 at halftime and finish with 27, 28 points. And you see this now, throughout this season. I know Drew and I, we talk about it all the time. Luka's the best first quarter player in the league. Luka's arguably the best first half player in the league because it feels like almost every single game he has 16 points, 14 points in the first quarter. But as the game goes on, specifically down the stretch in the fourth quarter, you see he does get gassed. And then, of course, that's where defensively he get blown by. And he's not the only defensive issue on the Lakers, so I'm not going to put that solely on him. But I am expecting a ton from him offensively. And in this series where you guys said it earlier, we expected the Lakers to be able to step up in these clutch time moments. What was that? 80% of it is because of Luka Doncic. LeBron's there too. But, down the stretch, we think Luka's going to have the ball in his hands a lot. And Luka just hasn't been able to step up in these moments. Called it a troll tweet, Drew? Sure, it was a troll tweet, but it was also true. He's giving you 6 points a night in the fourth quarter, under 30% from the field, under 20% from three. He has one assist, I believe, in the fourth quarter this entire series. He has not been good enough. Again, he's not the only reason why they are losing this series. He's not the only reason why the Lakers are sitting at this deficit right now. But he is one of the biggest reasons why I think all of us picked the Lakers, is because we thought going down the stretch he'd be able to create more opportunities for his team. That hasn't been the case. It's been Ant Edwards.
He's also the biggest reason why the series has even been a fight. It's been a really good series. Even though it's 3-1, the Pistons and Knicks series is 3-1. That's been a really good series too. Luka Doncic is doing everything offensively. He's averaging 31, 8, and 6 on 61% true
shooting. He's doing
shooting.
it till he can't. I'll give him that.
It's the roster around him. Like if you swap Luka and Ant, like the Timberwolves have a better roster all around. And I don't think it's fair that we're judging Luka when he got plopped into a brand new situation. The Mavericks got better from last year by adding Quentin Grimes, Clay, and Najee Marshall. They got better with their team. Luka, finally, there was a roster built around him to win a championship. He gets traded because Nico Harrison is just dumb. And for anybody that thinks that Nico Harrison might have been onto something, they missed the freaking playoffs and their future looks gloom. They missed it. There was no reason to trade Luka, but there was a reason why the Lakers' future post LeBron, it wasn't that good because they didn't have a rebuilding piece. They didn't have something to look forward to for the future. Luka gets propped into a situation where JJ Redick has to play them the entire second half. He doesn't trust anybody else.
He didn't have to.
Him playing them the entire second half tells me he didn't trust nobody else.
I agree with that, but he didn't have to do that. And I think that we all agree he shouldn't have done that.
He didn't have to do that, but in his mind, he did, because he felt like that was the best chance to win.
But I understand that. But again, I think hindsight is crystal clear. 2020, we can sit here and say that was objectively a bad decision. We were up double digits in the third quarter. There was a moment where you could take 2-3 minutes, sit the guys, give them a breather. LeBron's 40. He's 40. Give him a breather. And you did not do that. I get where you're coming from, but at the same time, we can sit and understand that was objectively a bad decision.
I told you guys in the chat, and I'll say it again. I really don't think this Lakers roster is that good. Like you mentioned, Dels, we pick them because they have LeBron and they have Luka, and Reeves is an awesome third option. This offseason for Rob Pelinka, is make or break. He got extended because Luka was gift wrapped into his arms. He got Luka for free, and if you want to give him credit for the negotiation tactics, fine, whatever.
I mean,
Nico
JJ.
Nico Harrison just made a really bad decision by just gifting him Luka. Rob Pelinka has to make it a priority to get a center and to surround Luka with more good players and LeBron. And this is why I'm not sold on the Lakers' long-term future, because when LeBron retires, that leaves Luka without a co-star. And you can say the Lakers are just going to get one out of thin air like they always do, and I can't argue with you because that's how they got Luka. But overall, I'm very interested to see how Rob Pelinka is going to manage their assets to try to build a real championship contender around this team.
Yeah. In the last 3 years, we've gotten Reeves, we've gotten Rui, we brought in JJ, we have DFS this season, and we got Luka Doncic.
Jackson Hayes too.
Those are 5 of the biggest reasons why the Lakers were the 3 seed this season. I also think in due part, we took the Lakers in this series because for a good portion of Luka's tenure with the Lakers, they've been one of the more consistent teams in basketball, on top of the fact that they do have LeBron, that they do have Luka Doncic. Yes, obviously, but we've played extremely high levels of basketball for a good amount of time. And our defense, we watched it versus Oklahoma City, where we go out there and we show that with the best team in the league, we can go out there and we can embarrass them. We showed against the best of the best all season long that we can go out there and compete with them. In this series, we've just fallen short, and we're mismatched for lack of a better term, because my brain can't come up with anything else.
But in
the
the
size
same
that
breath,
they're playing with is simply too much for us to handle.
But in the same breath, Josh Giddey's looked like an all-star against this defense twice.
Okay,
they've had moments.
Again, hindsight is 2020. Then we all should have came up here and took the Wolves because the size was just such.
I don't think the defense was a real concern for me. It was a clutch time offense where I thought the Lakers would shine. That's really what it comes down to.
Our offense, believe it or not, has been the more inconsistent of the two.
Yes, but I think defensively, there's no answer to stop anybody in front of them. That's really what it came down to.
It's because we have the 3 of our more important offensive players that can play defense in Luka, Reeves, and Rui.
Like, DFS has done fine, but he's a little bit too old to keep up with somebody as athletically gifted as Ant.
See, even still, too, like I agree with that wholeheartedly. Our best defensive option gets 0 burn because he's a negative on offense in Vando. But even DFS, like, they just switch off. They switch and get Rui or get Luka into action, and obviously Ant takes that mismatch. DFS was trying to stay on him, and we're trying to double. But Ant, again, I have to give credit. He's done a great job of making that extra pass, and the guy hit shots today.
Joel, I just want to reply to something you said earlier after my Luka take, and we can move on if you want to. My argument was never about the Lakers being good enough and Luka is just coming up short, right? I think the Timberwolves are the better team, and I think there's valid questions to have about this team. That's not what I was saying. What I'm saying is JJ Redick was forced to play Luka 24 minutes in the second half. That's what all-star players do. Anthony Edwards played 24 minutes in the second half. Tatum today played 24 minutes in the second half. Cade today played 23 minutes in the second half. If you are a top 5 player, a top 10 player in the league, and you are in a close playoff game, there's a decent chance you're going to have to be playing 24 minutes in that second half. And if you can't do it because you're not prepared to, that's going to drop you. And that's what I was saying about Luka Doncic. It's not, oh my God, the team is so bad, he has to be out there. It's no, you have to be out there because you're Luka Doncic and you're one of the best players in the world. That's what I was saying.
You're right, but in game 3, he had food poisoning, right? Was this a stomach virus? He was sick. He was throwing up before the game.
Yeah, bubble guts.
And then in the second half this game, he had 17 points.
Second half, all in the majority in the third. Yeah, majority in the third, where we were up double digits, where JJ Redick should have sat him down.
I think that listen, I think Anthony Edwards is a star, and I think he belongs in that tier. And there's a realistic argument to be made about, wanting more from Luka. I definitely understand that. It's just reminiscent to me of last year in the finals when people want more from Luka and His
It was the
teammates are
same thing
shooting
last year, though.
17% from three.
He was awesome, and he was awesome in the first 3 quarters. In the fourth quarter, he would always fall apart. Like, again, he would have 20 at halftime and finish with 27. It felt like every game. That's not a knock because he still gives you 28 a night, and you need that 28, but I need you for 44 minutes a game, not 38.
Who's a better third option now, guys? McDaniels or Reeves?
Still taking Reeves.
Like a better third player, like not just
McDaniels
offensive option. Like we're
McDaniels
taking
has
into
been
account both sides.
It hasn't been
McDaniels
close this
hasn't
series.
great. I'm still going to take Reeves. Reeves has been getting a lot of criticism for today's game. I'm going to be honest with you. Considering how he started, the fact that he barely played in the first half at all, 17 points, hit some of the biggest shots of the game.
He did.
Missed arguably the biggest shot of the game, of course, with the game tying 3. I thought Reeves was really good offensively. I know defense. You're getting switched on to Julius Randle and Naz Reid. If you want Reeves to win that matchup, I don't know what to say to you. It was great execution by the Wolves, and obviously you're taking apart a mismatch. What is he supposed to do there?
All right. So is this our farewell to you, Drew?
It is, unfortunately. I appreciate the time we shared, boys. New York, I love you. Jalen Brunson, I love you. And Edwards may be top 5. He is one of them ones. Jalen Brunson for sure is top 10. And Joel, put some respect on Bodega Cat. And Joel, please make sure he does that. He acknowledges him. All right, boys, I'm out of here.
All right, see ya. All right, so we're going to talk about this next, Dells. And before we do, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. We have 605 live viewers. Thank you for everybody that saw. Make sure you guys are liking the stream. The Knicks beat the Pistons by 1 point, 94-93. And I think the first thing we got to start with is, was that a foul? The very last shot attempt.
I think it was a foul. They came out and they had the interviews with the referees after the game. The referees said it was a foul. But I also understand in that moment, it's been one of the most physical games I've seen this playoffs. One of the most physical games I've seen period. They were letting for multiple minutes in that. I remember in that third quarter, just back and forth. There's a ton of contact and no foul calls. I loved it. It was so entertaining. I understand swallowing the whistle there. On the other hand, 9 times out of 10, if a shooter gets a defender to jump and they go up into their shot without looking awkward, which is what Tim Hardaway did, 9 times out of 10, 9.9 times out of 10, you're getting that foul call. So if it was something a bit more ticky-tacky, or if, he was trying to go up for a layup and got contact, I think that's different than this call, because we see it might be one of the most common, consistent calls in basketball, because there could be a lot of inconsistency around the rim, especially in the playoffs with all the contact. But that's been pretty consistent regular season and postseason. If you're getting a defender to jump into the air, into your space, again, without doing anything unnaturally, the refs have been calling that a foul the entire season. So it is a really tough break for Detroit, because you're down 3-1 now. You're going back to New York in MSG. I almost feel like sometimes for a younger team like them, it could be better playing on the road, because at home there's so much pressure and your fans are behind you. And when you hit a shot, everyone goes crazy and you get all of this energy and momentum that sometimes I think for younger teams, it might not be the worst to go on the road. Of course, their only win was on the road so far this series. But yeah, I do think it was a foul call. But the way they were calling the game the entire time, I understand why whistle wasn't blown.
I can't help but feel like the Knicks got away with one, because if the foul is called, I think Hardaway's making at least 2 of the 3, and I think they're winning the game. This series is tied 2-2. If I was a Pistons fan, I definitely understand, because if that happened to me, I would have said we were kind of robbed from the game, and that would have been Detroit's first home playoff win since 2008, so it would have been a special moment for them. But it wasn't called. It is what it is. You can't do anything about it now. The Pistons have to try to find a way to bounce back. Overall, I just thought the Knicks were pretty awesome in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Really, the other 3 quarters, I was kind of scratching my head a little bit. But in the fourth quarter, Jalen Brunson comes alive after he rolls his ankle. And I thought it was more serious when he first rolled it and he went to the locker room. I thought he was actually hurt. But he came back and he was hitting every single shot. I mean, he was otherworldly. He had 11 points in the fourth quarter. And then Karl-Anthony Towns, the 3-point shot he hit, the fadeaway mid-range shot that he hit. Karl-Anthony Towns was unbelievable with 11 points, 2 rebounds, and 2 assists in the fourth as well. And I also don't think we win this game without Mikal Bridges. He hit 2 corner threes that were so huge for the momentum and to get back into this game, that It was just an effort from the three guys that we all expected coming into the year should be the most impactful New York players on the team. So I think that the Knicks got away with one. And I love how Brunson and Cat played down the stretch. And just correction. So Brunson had 15, Cat had 8, and Mikal had 6. So I feel like Cade also proved that he's a superstar. He was awesome. The third quarter takeover that he had to give the Pistons a comfortable lead. This series has been amazing. And I think this series has been way closer than what the 3-1 series lead indicates.
Yeah, I mean, we're a couple plays away from it being 3-1 going the other way, where the Pistons could be up 3-1 pretty easily. Mikal Bridges before that fourth quarter was 1 for 10. And if he would have finished this game a bit more ugly and the series is 2-2, I can't imagine what Knicks fans are saying right now. But he did hit those 2 clutch threes basically in the same spot in that right-hand corner, some with pressure in his face too, and he was still able to do it. But Cat was really the story. Of course, Brunson was amazing, right? 15 points. He was carrying you throughout most of the fourth quarter. But those 2 shots that Cat hit, the 3 that felt like basically half court, it was like 35 feet away from the basket, drains that. And then the fadeaway shot that he was basically behind the backboard to hit. I mean, he hit 2 of the clutchest shots that I've seen a Knicks player hit, obviously this season, but over the last couple of years, those two buckets to put you up 3-1, because the momentum could have easily flipped if Detroit gets this game. And it really was a tale of 2 halves, where in that first half, I mean, halfway through the second quarter, you guys were up 17 at one point. The Pistons came storming back in the end of the half. Tobias Harris was really good for them in that first half too. He was in some big buckets, had an and one right before the half ended, I believe. And then the third quarter, they just rode that momentum, outscored you guys 28-14. Cade got it going. The threes were still hit or miss, but they started to hit a couple of them. I just think, man, this is the score looks ugly, 94-93, but I felt like both teams missed a lot of open looks, especially Detroit from 3 from Beasley and Tim Hardaway some. But this has been an awesome series. It's a little upsetting that's probably going to end in 5. Maybe it gets extended to 1 more game, because I think Cade's been great, and the coming out party that he has is so deserved because of the all NBA season he had, the fact that Detroit basketball is back and great and being in the playoffs. But a 3-1 deficit, I think it's going to be too much for this young team to overcome.
It's funny how the scenario was flipped. And in game 2, Mikal Bridges played great through 3 quarters. He had 19, but in the fourth, he went over 4 or over 3, and everybody was ragging on him for that. But in this game, he was terrible for most of it. Then in the fourth, he hits 2 big shots, and it's a better performance than game 2 just because of the magnitude of when he hit the shots. The Knicks were pretty flawless in the second half. 9 for 12 from 3, 75%. And Brunson, 9 for 16, 56% from the field, 20 points and 4 assists with only 1 turnover. He just got into a mode where he was able to get whatever he wanted against whoever he wanted, and there was nothing you could do to stop him. And I do think that towards the end of the fourth, he was kind of getting gassed out a little bit. He made that nice cross-court pass to Cat, and he drained the 3. And then the last couple of possessions were just Cat saving the day and Cat coming up big and making sure that the Knicks get the victory. So it was definitely a great win. Pistons fans should definitely feel upset, especially based off the referee saying that it should have been a call.
Yeah.
They should feel like they were robbed in their own home court.
Yeah, they wouldn't have been able to challenge that though, I believe, right? Like you can't
No.
call it non-foul. So I do think JB has had a couple really questionable challenges. Of course, this one was in the first quarter. He challenged an out of bounds play, which ended up being unsuccessful. And there was another challenge in one of the first 2 games in New York too, where again, it was a first or second quarter challenge that if I feel like challenging, especially in the first half, you need a couple things going for you. Number one, you have to be 100% certain you're right, because it's not even worth it if there's any sort of doubt, because you only, if you lose, of course, you lose the challenge. If you do challenge, I think it has to be you're guaranteed to get points on the board. Like if this goes the other way, instead of it being a charge, it's a blocking foul and 1, or someone gets fouled on a 3-point attempt or something like that, where points are swaying in your favor. Or in the last one would just be if your star player gets like a 3rd foul in the second quarter. If it's not one of those 3 things and it's a simple out of bounds call, I just don't think that single possession is worth it in the first half, because you could have had it for something down the stretch in the fourth quarter. And I know, like, in theory, it's all the same. A possession is possession, but I'm sure there was going to be other opportunities down this game where JB could have used that challenge. But yeah, no, I'm with you. I think Pistons fans have a right to be upset. because there was contact, and that's contact we see get called all the time.
Now, super chats. Jay Clark goes, Jalen Marquise Brunson is my heart and soul, my king, my knight in shining armor. I am blessed to live in the same world as him. God was in his bag when he made Jalen Brunson.
He's a playoff riser. Like Anthony Edwards is getting a lot of praise, as he should, but Jalen Brunson, he's in that same mold when it comes to the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think it was a big slap in the face to a lot of Pistons fans after they were complaining about Brunson's flopping tactics.
Yep.
And in this game, he only had 2 free throws, and he still dominated down the stretch, and there was nothing they could do about it. So it just kind of showcased that Brunson can get to the line. He cannot get to the line. He's going to dominate either way. And Pistons fans were complaining about the flopping and then want to get rewarded on a last-second call with Tim Hardaway Jr., so I get it.
Cade also had a good look, too, before the Hardaway shot. Cade had a good look at the free throw line that
he just missed it. Santos goes, LeBron tried, Luka cried, Shannon lied. Woes and 5 and Woes fans are dumb for accepting Joel back. Joel cheated on the Woes twice for the Suns and Lakers, and they accepted him back.
You did cheat twice.
Yeah, it's the first round jinx. I got to keep it going so the Woes could keep on advancing and going. But Wolves fans rock with me because Wolves fans know I was the only person to give them credit. We have Wolves fans in the comments saying, hey, listen, I'm sorry, Joel. I rewatched the video. Everybody else is disrespectful. You was giving us props. I was like, yeah, I did. It was a tough series for me to predict.
I don't care. You gave them props to take the other team. Because when you were doing it, I'm like, this is why I need you to pick a damn side. Because if the Wolves win, I'm going to be like, well, I was telling you guys this and that. That's why I wanted you to pick. And you did.
You're a process over results guy. So you get it.
Yeah, but I'm still not giving you credit. So
yeah, I definitely get credit. Get credit for that. The way that I explained things that were going to happen happened. It's just the Lakers won in clutch time. That's what it is. If you would have told me before the series that the Lakers would have been 0-2 in the clutch, and in the clutch the Wolves would have outplayed them on offense, I wouldn't have believed you. And they came out and they were better.
If Luka was good in the clutch, the Lakers would be up 3-1 probably.
Oh yeah, or LeBron. He had 0 points in the fourth quarter, but yeah, it's Luka's fault. It's Luka's fault. LeBron has 0, but it's Luka's fault because he's inefficient.
LeBron defensively was locked in. Luka was the opposite.
Okay, but he had a 3-point shot he missed.
I don't care. At least LeBron was giving me something.
Luka was giving you things too. He was the only one trying to get some offense.
He got to the free throw line.
Flaves goes, Lakers really wish they had Mark Williams right now. I don't even think Mark Williams would have been the solution to what they got going right now.
Yeah, and the other part of that is, what if you had Mark Williams and he looked like shit right now, and you're still down 3-1? Now you're going to next offseason with even more questions. I don't think it would have changed a ton.
Freola33 goes, get Luka out of top 5 talks. He's with Hallie and LaMelo.
Hallie and LaMelo feels kind of crazy, but I got Ant over him.
Listen, Luka is still top 5.
He's top 8 probably.
No, he's definitely not. He's higher than top 8. That's ridiculous. He's the only person that could get traded mid-season to a bad roster and be expected to carry that team to the finals.
I mean, KD a couple of years ago, at least he won a playoff series,
With the Suns?
Yeah.
Yeah, when Kawhi and Paul George didn't play, and he had to face Russell Westbrook as the main guy. Jay Greedo goes, am I crazy for taking the Wolves over OKC? Wolves role players compared to OKC is a lot closer than people think. I think it is. I think the toughest part about that series is just that it's a series that Ant is running into serious rim protection. And not that Ant can't get by that, but I just feel like they'll be able to stay in front of him better. They'll be able to pack the paint and make sure that he's not going up against a 6'8" guy like he is with the Lakers. I just think OKC is more well-equipped to guard their offense. But I think Wolves and OKC is a really tough back and forth series. And I think that really comes down to just who plays better between Ant and SGA. If Ant is the best player in that series, I think they could win that series.
Yeah, and it's not just Ant having to face rim protection, but Jaden McDaniels too. He said after the game 3 when I believe that, when Jackson Hayes isn't on the court, I'm the tallest player left. Like, sitting there 6'9", 6'10". So we've seen him constantly in this series be able to attack off the dribble, attack closeouts, and there's really no one on the backside being able to help him at the rim. So the insane Jaden games we've gotten, the 30-point games, the efficiency, if you have a real rim protector there where he's going to be more hesitant, or maybe he's going to be more likely to shoot a contested 3, you're probably going to see his efficiency drop off as well.
Champy goes, the Mavs were right to get rid of Pillsbury Doughboy. You can't win with him. He is the biggest fraud in NBA history, worst defensive player in NBA history. I don't think really he's been that bad. He's had moments, but this entire roster can't guard. I don't like, yeah, if you have a bad defensive player, it's going to get highlighted if you have other bad defensive players with him. But that's why I'm really curious to see how the Lakers build around Luka, because he went from carrying a team for 5 seasons with the Mavs, finally gets a roster that can make him take a lesser load, and then he gets traded to a team that needs him to carry that same load for them to be a top team in the West. Like, I just don't know how the Lakers are going to be able to build around Luka when LeBron retires, because that's going to come sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I think what's really interesting is what happens with Austin Reeves, because he's on arguably the best contract in the NBA, and it feels silly to move off him. And at the same time, can you really compete for a championship if you're going to have Luka and Austin Reeves out on the court, and with this variation, Rui and some other guys that don't not a center? So my biggest question going to this offseason, what happens with Austin Reeves? I think he's pretty clearly the third best talent on this team, so it's hard to move off him. But like you said, you do have to build a perfect team around Luka, especially defensively, where you have guys that aren't liabilities. Like Kyrie Irving gets looked at as a liability. He's a much better defender than Austin Reeves. It's really not even close. So the fact that he gives you so much offensively, especially if Luka and LeBron, if they miss some time, especially in the regular season, or one of them off the court, you're always gonna have a second guy out there with Reeves. But his defensive liabilities paired with Luka, you're gonna have two guys on the court that offenses are gonna be happy to go at.
Emil Diaz goes, last play was a foul, but at least they was consistent. Yeah, I see that. KP goes, well, you can't keep flipping aside on teams. It's just one. It's just the Timberwolves Lakers. Dels asked me when we were predicting it if it's pulling at heartstrings, and I said it is. I can't lie to you and say that when I was watching this game throughout this series, when I've been watching this series, whenever the Wolves hit one of those big shots, I get up for it a little bit more.
I know
I
you
do.
do. You were
Because if it's
rooting for the Wolves today.
if it's not Luka, because I don't like anybody on the Lakers outside of Luka. I like almost everybody on the Wolves.
Yeah.
There's like nobody I don't like on the Wolves. So when I watch the Wolves, I just root for them more. Jess has some videos of me dancing.
I'm rooting for the Wolves too. Listen, I don't like the Lakers, and I like the Wolves. I love Ant. I love Naz Reid. So it's pretty easy for me to root for them. Now, once it gets deeper into the playoffs, we'll see. But I just saw you in the chat today. You were going crazy every time the Wolves hit a big shot. I didn't see a single text when Luka was going crazy in the first half. Not one.
I have a tweet in the drafts about Luka and Ant that I didn't get to post just because the Wolves won, so it just didn't make sense to post. But I had a tweet in the drafts that maybe I'll post at the end of the series. But the Wolves just have so many players that I like. Ant, Randall, McDaniels, DiVincenzo. Those are really the big ones that I like a lot. Who knows? What if they make the finals and Ant-Man and McDaniels prove to be the best duo in the NBA?
I would love to see that.
Better than JT and JB. That's what I'm thinking.
I would love to see that.
That's what I'm thinking. So the other series that happened, the Celtics beat the Magic 107-98. They took a 3-1 series lead. This game was close until the very end. Then the Celtics pulled away. Tatum at 37, 14, and 3. He was really good. So was Jaylen Brown and Derek White, Porzingis. They got production from all their top guys, but Orlando made it a fight. I actually thought that the ball should have been in Franz Wagner's hands more down the stretch. I thought Paolo was forcing a lot of shots at the rim, and that really kind of deterred their offense, and it really stalemated them. I mean, Paolo on the night shot 37% from the field, and Franz was much better as just a playmaker. He had 7 assists compared to Paolo's 3. So I thought Franz should have been the one dictating decisions late in the game, but Paolo was just forcing up shots, and that's what I think cost Orlando's offense.
Yeah, all of these games really outside of game 1, and even in game 1, it was close, at least for the first half. All of these games have been dogfights against Orlando. They were a top 2 defense in the regular season, so I was expecting it to be ugly, but I mean, I remember the stat I saw before this series started was Orlando is the number one team in terms of not allowing 3-point attempts. They allow the least amount of 3-point attempts per game. I'm like, all right, that's fine and all, but you're going to go up against a 7-game series with the Celtics. They're going to get their threes off. But my God, is it difficult to get up 3-point attempts? The Celtics were 9 for 31 today, and they have not been able to hit threes basically this entire series. I don't know if they've hit double digits in any game. They've been scoring around 100 points, so it really wouldn't surprise me. But Orlando's defense, they try super hard. They're super physical. Jamal Mosley, of course, is a great coach, and they really take away the 3-point shot at a high level, and they make you play one-on-one a lot. When Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are driving to the rim, you don't see a lot of help. You don't see a lot of kick-out opportunities. They're going to allow you to play one-on-one, and JT has had to hit some really tough mid-range shots. Jaylen Brown as well. This was Porzingis' first solid game all series. It's been kind of dreadful in these other three, but what really got him going today was just the pick and roll. Knowing KP, he loves to pick and pop, and he hasn't been able to hit any threes. I think today was his first one for 11 on this series, I believe, 1 for 12. So he hasn't been able to find his shot, but today the fact that he was able to attack the rim got him into some rhythm. He had an efficient outing. Jaylen Brown was a bit up and down, but in that third quarter, I thought he did really well. He was playing some big minutes on Paolo too, because Drew Holiday's been missing these last two games with the hamstring injury. So he's had to pick up some of the slack. But Orlando is a super fun team. And even though their offense is ugly, you see the pieces there, right? Like Franz and Paolo getting downhill, attacking the rim is as good as basically any duo in this league. They're both so big, strong, and physical, but they have really nice touch around the rim. So you can't really put a small defender on him, but they could, take you off the dribble too. It's really number one, their shooting, right? That's for the both of them, Paolo and Franz. If they can't turn into consistent 3-point shooters, the ceiling of this team is naturally going to be capped because you're going to have at best 3 shooters out there. But they need more self-creation as well, because those are really the only 2 guys when you look at this team that have it. Of course, they've been linked to Anthony Simons and guards throughout the years, but they need some shooters as well, because KCP hasn't been what they thought he would be. This is a guy they thought was going to be a 37-38% 3-point shooter, and he's been pretty awful this series. So it's been ugly. It's been a test for the Celtics, that's for sure. It has not been a snooze fest, but I'm glad they're getting this. I'm glad you get a physical matchup. Got to be locked in, get some clutch minutes down the stretch. I thought Tatum was great in the fourth quarter. Back to Boston for game 5.
No, we have some super chats. KP goes, no dissing Tatum been better. You flip every year. You think Tatum has been better? You think so?
Tatum actually showed up in the fourth quarter today. Tatum willed this team to victory, if I'm being honest.
Are you just saying that because you're a Celtics fan?
I mean, it plays a huge fact into it, but also Tatum I think the Celtics scored 24 in the fourth, and he had like 16.
And Jay Greedo goes, Wolves homer to push anti-Tatum agenda. I get it.
I love Ant.
So the last game we'll talk about, the Pacers beat the Bucks 129-103. They blew them out. The Pacers had 8 players that scored in double figures. I was taking a nap for most of this game. I woke up in like the third quarter. When the game kind of was out of hand, there was different moments of when I woke up. So I was taking an initial nap when this game started. Then while I'm sleeping, Jess comes in the room and wakes me up, and she tells me that Dame just ruptured his Achilles. And I was like, whoa, are you serious? And she said, yeah. And I immediately thought that it's pretty much over for Dame. It's sad, and it made me kind of emotional because Dame's one of my favorite players, just especially in the mid-2010s when he first got to Portland as a rookie, how electric he was. He was one of my favorite players to play with in 2K all the time. I love Dame, and I think he's going to be one of the most underrated guards in history. But to be almost 35 years old, rupture your Achilles, miss the entire season, you're going to be back at 36 years old next year. What's going to happen? Like, he's not going to be the same. We've seen this before with other players. The only player that's really come back from it was KD, but he ruptured his Achilles in his early 30s. Yeah. Dame having this type of injury at this point in his career, it's brutal. That's all I can say about it. It really made me appreciate just all the times I watched him, because I kind of realized that this season might be one of the last seasons that we watch Dame be Dame.
Yeah, it's sad. It really is because, of course, he comes back from this blood clot. We know how the first year went in Milwaukee where Giannis is down. This year looks like they're both going to be healthy. He gets the blood clot. You think season's over, right? Because it's like a month before the playoffs, and it seems like it's going to be. And all of a sudden, you get this report from Shams a week ago that, oh no, Dame is going to play. He comes back. Of course, he doesn't look like vintage Dame, but the fact that he's out there is going to matter, right? Because it's Damian Lillard. So of course the Pacers are going to be like, holy shit, we need to guard this guy. But to go from your season, what felt like being over to the public, to, oh shit, we're back, to 2 games later, you have this non-contact injury. You can't put any weight on it. And Chris Haynes comes out and says, yeah, it's probably ruptured Achilles. It really is brutal for Damian Lillard, who I really do think didn't want to leave Portland, in the grand scheme of things. Like, I think if there was no outside noise and he could have just hooped, he would have probably stayed in Portland for his whole career. But of course, I do think they want to go into a different direction because the team was bad and still has been pretty bad. And Dame saw an opportunity to pair with Giannis, and it felt like a natural fit. Unfortunately, it really hasn't worked out. So fingers crossed, the early reports are wrong and it's not something as serious. But if he does indeed have a ruptured Achilles, yeah, it's hard to see a world where this guy comes back next season. Number one, is Giannis even on the team, right? Because it feels like more and more likely by the day that potentially he's not. But number two, just what is he going to look like? Because KD's really the only guy, and given, like you mentioned, he was a few years younger, but he's really the only guy that comes back and has looked just as good, if not better, than pre-ruptured Achilles, right? We've seen that in other sports, and guys have not looked the same. So I don't know if it's just a one-off with KD. He's just such a freak that he was able to get through it, because it's hard to see a world, like you mentioned, where he's going to come back at 36 years old and still be this all-NBA player. On top of that, the fact that the Bucks extended their GM just a few weeks ago, John Horst got a multi-year extension, seems insane. Because the Damian Lillard thing aside, right? Like, whether Dame plays or not, the rest of this roster sucks. Like, we saw some of the lineups that were out there today. We saw who you've invested in first and second round picks and these league minimum type guys. Some of the lineups out there are dreadful that you would expect to be on teams that win 15 to 20 games. And this is who you're surrounding Giannis and Dame with. So I thought the fact that he got an extension last week was insane, because the roster is just not good enough to warrant that extension. But yeah, hopefully Dame's good. Feels like this Buck season is over. And Giannis deserves better. He deserves to be on a team that's competing, because he is showing you that I am still a top 3 player in the world when everything's going right.
The most depressing part of this game was in the third quarter. It was when I woke up from my nap fully and I was just invested. Giannis played all 12 minutes in the third. He had 18 points and 8 rebounds and 2 assists, and he was a -6. Every time down the court, he was dominating. Nobody could guard him at all. He was getting whatever he wanted. But then the Pacers would just come back and they would get a shot from Obi Toppin or McConnell, or somebody else would hit something, and they couldn't guard them. And it just felt like every time Giannis tried to will the Bucks back, they get it within 9. The Pacers just go on a flurry of made baskets, and then the game is pretty much in the coffin, and there's no way the Bucks come back. Now, we knew the Bucks were going to be outmatched in this game to this degree. I don't know if I necessarily expected this much, but they have looked terrible. And now there is nothing to keep Giannis in Milwaukee. You can't sell him on the idea that you have Dame, you have another co-star, because now with his injury, he's going to miss the entire year. There is nothing to sell Giannis on staying anymore. I think that means that he's leaving. I think he's going to demand a trade. There's no way that I see Giannis playing out next season with this terrible of a roster and wasting a season of his career. I think he's gone.
He should. I feel like he would be doing himself a disservice if he doesn't at least request and be like, hey, if something's out there, he doesn't have to go super public and demand it, but he doesn't deserve this. I mean, like, some of the guys that are getting minutes for this Milwaukee Bucks team, like, shout out to you guys, but the Kyle Kuzma trade is looking like a disaster. Whatever ends up happening with Chris Middleton, I know he's old and maybe he just falls off a cliff next year. I would have rather had Chris Middleton in this game than what Kyle Kuzma has given you. But like the Pat Connaughtons, the Ryan Rollinses, Jericho Sims, Chris Livingston, I'm sure he just got burned in like the fourth quarter when it was a 20-point game or whatever. But the fact that like Kevin Porter Jr. came in during the trade deadline. It was like a revelation for this team. Revelation, excuse me. And all of a sudden, it's like, oh shit, we have someone off the bench that can create for themselves. It's like, where has this been for the last, year? It tells you all you need to know for this Bucks team and where they sit in terms of roster construction. So I think he requested trade. I think he should request a trade because he could be the best player on championship team. Obviously, he's a top 3 guy, but he just is not going to have a co-star number 1 next season. I think he has a coach that's like a bottom 10 to 15 coach in the league. And the supporting cast in terms of all the playoff teams is probably one of not the worst supporting cast amongst all of them.
I think the most interesting part of this all is that there are moments when you have to trade your franchise star, that the Bucks find themselves in that type of moment. And sometimes you don't try to get the best return. Sometimes you just try to do right by the person you're trading and say, you did so much for our team that we're willing to take less and send you to the Knicks for a pick rather than
you were going with
send you to the Rockets for multiple.
They'll send him to the West Hill. Yeah, sure. Houston, fine. They're not bad to send him to some Eastern Conference team. Just be like, oh, we'll do you a solid.
I think they're pretty much done regardless. Like, unless they get a package from one of these young teams, and yeah, that could save them. But for the most part, like, I don't know. Like, it's really on where Giannis wants to go. What if Giannis tells you, I don't want to go to Houston. I just want to go to New York. So do whatever you can to get me on the Knicks. That's where I want to go. I think he's going to go.
He's going to have a one-team list. He's going to have more than one team.
Maybe he does. Maybe his list of teams are like the best of the best. The Knicks, OKC, Golden State. And the Bucks have to make a decision on whether or not, okay, listen, we're not going to try to take the best package. We're just going to try to do right by this guy and just trade him to whoever could give us something and just let him win a championship somewhere.
And that something is just what the Knicks have.
Yeah, go pair him up with Jalen Brunson, some depth.
Oh yeah, what's your trade package? I know you've done trade packages for every team. So what's the next trade package?
It's Cat straight up and picks, and the other one is Mikal and Josh Hart.
Okay, which would you prefer?
Well, Mikal and Josh Hart, I think I would rather prefer that. It makes a little bit more sense because we keep the star power. But no, yeah, listen, I think it's pretty much over for the Bucks, and this is it. Like, there's no trying to convince Giannis that there's anything to compete for next year. No. It's pretty much over.
Doc probably fired. I see Santos or someone just put that in the chat. Doc getting fired. If he survives this, shout out to Doc, but I would not have him as my head coach.
I mean, wow, like he's gonna get fired for everything crumbling around him. Okay.
He was screwed either way. I'm not gonna lie, but you're not doing anything better with Doc Rivers, respectfully.
ODXOA goes 16 in the fourth with 9 free throws. Tay Bum turned into SGA, I think. Yeah, FGA. Yeah,
I mean, if you can't guard him, you're gonna foul him,
Yeah, I guess they didn't call those calls for Luka today. I'll tell you that.
Because his gassed ass can't even get downhill.
What's been the most fascinating thing for me to watch this series with the Lakers and Wolves is that watching the game, I have genuinely felt that the Lakers have gotten the benefit of a lot of non-calls or calls.
Mm-hmm.
But then I look at the numbers and it always seems similar. But when I'm watching it, I really do think that they're like, I saw LeBron blatantly push Julius Randle in the back and it wasn't a foul. Yeah. Like, I just felt like there were a lot of moments like that.
Well, the Lakers do have the number 1 free throw disparity in the league over the last 5 years or whatever it is.
And Lakers fans will swear to you it's because they're just the most disciplined team in the league with Darvin Ham and Redick.
Points in the paint and drives per game and all of this. And it's like, all right.
This is a bad look for the league. They try to, extend this series for the Lakers and, they fixed it for the Wolves.
Well, no, not this game. I saw one of the big Lakers accounts saying that they posted the clip of Luka tripping on Jaden McDaniels, which was a missed call. 100% he tripped him. But the Lakers account was like, the NBA is ringing it for the Wolves. And then someone's like, the NBA is forcing the Minnesota Timberwolves to beat the Los Angeles Lakers with LeBron James. Okay.
Yeah, no, great win for Minnesota. All teams today took a 3-1 series lead. We're going to answer this last question. How do you feel about the Raiders? Because he really wants to know. He's asked this twice. I think the Raiders look good, man, with Gino and Genty and Brock Bowers and Trey Tucker. Trey Tucker, Cody Myers. And their defense, don't sleep on their defense, man. No, I think the Raiders look really good.
Sure. It's just so random just how the Raiders look.
The Raiders look good. I like them.
They look better than
them.
last year. They're probably a fourth place team though, unfortunately. But they're going to be maybe the best fourth place team in the NFL.
So Santos just asked who wins tomorrow's games. So it's the
Heat,
Cavs and
right?
Heat and the Rockets Warriors.
We know if Jimmy's playing?
We don't know yet.
I think the Cavs finish it off. They sweep them. I think the Warriors win. Jimmy plays or not, I think the Warriors win.
If Jimmy doesn't play, I got the Rockets. Jalen Green, he's like every other game guy, so he's probably going to drop like
Jalen Green stat line tomorrow.
Probably going to drop like 27.
Efficient?
Probably, yeah. Okay. Every other game, that's what he is. Every other game, Green. Every other game.
Nasty. I didn't even realize when you did his last 5 games or whatever, like 2 of them were just at the end of the season when nothing mattered.
He went 5 for 24 in those games.
I'm not saying it was pretty, but it was just they had nothing to play. I don't really care if he did amazing or terrible in those games.
Yeah, but he went 5 for 24.
It's the agenda. It's just a little.
Nah, man. It's just somebody made this comment last episode, and I thought it was brilliant. Is whenever he plays well, everybody is forced to apologize and call him the next star, and they're eating their words. But then he has these games, and then I don't see those same people. I don't see that same energy. They're nowhere to be found.
It stands. It's not real people. It's just fake people.
Like, I was thinking about this the other day. I think that if you swap Malik Monk and Jalen Green, the Rockets would be better.
I hear you. It's not the craziest take in the world. I'm not going to go there.
Like, what's the bar? What's the bar for Jalen Green? Like, what's the worst player they can get? And they'd be better just because they're more consistent. Like, would they be better with Reeves?
I don't know. I think Green's like shooting and scoring volume, like how much he actually has how to take on for this team offensively. You're downplaying just a bit. Because I think Austin Reeves in like a number 1 role or Malik Monk in a number 1 role, I don't know how efficient they're being either.
But Jalen Green's not really in a number 1 role.
No, not all the time, but there are nights where he's asked to be the number 1 guy in terms of either, being the guy to go get a bucket, time the ball top of the key. Of course, Şengün's going to get looks and Fred's going to run some offense too. But I mean, he was the leading scorer on this team in the regular season.
I'm going to name the players and just tell me how many players, just say yes or no, they'd be better with them versus Jalen Green.
Okay.
Desmond Bane.
I think they'd probably be the same. Yeah.
You're not going Desmond Bane?
No, I think Bane's better, but I don't think like all of a sudden they're winning the series because they've.
No, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying like they just can generate better offense because they have.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, Norman Powell.
I don't think it changes anything.
Zach LaVine.
I like Zach more.
Trey Murphy.
Trey Murphy did it on a god awful team, so I can't say with confidence, but I think Trey's better.
Jordan Poole.
I don't think so.
RJ Barrett.
I don't think so.
CJ McCollum.
I don't think so.
Bradley Beal.
I don't think so.
Number 1 option, Bradley Beal.
No. This is some nasty names.
Well, I'm looking at Jalen Green's PER. He ranks 33rd out of 50 shooting guards. And all the shooting guards that are right below him, Malik Monk and Simons, the ones that are ahead of him, Levert, Beal, DeJounte, KPJ, Dyson Daniels, McCollum, Scottie Pippen Jr., Quentin Grimes, Caruso, Christian Brown, Josh Hart, RJ Poole, Trey Murphy, Zach LaVine, Quickly, Powell, Cam Thomas, Josh Giddey, Desmond Bane.
Yeah, I mean that feels right. That's like where he is.
No, yeah, PR is not an exact stat, but it's just easy to look at it and just look at the list. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying all these players will be better. Like, I don't think that you can swap Jalen Green for Dyson Daniels and they'd be better offensively. Probably defensively, they'd be like amazing. But
yeah, they'd be crazy defensively, but they're already amazing defensively.
Yeah, but no, I think that's just the thought I had. Like, I told my cousin, he thought I was crazy. I was like, bro, you put RJ Barrett on this team, they're like the same.
Yeah, I don't know.
RJ Barrett's been awesome in Toronto.
He has, but it's been Toronto.
Yeah, but RJ is good. Like he's not bad.
No,
He's not a
he's
bad
been
player.
good. The numbers are good. The efficiency's good, but like I'm gonna if you're on a bad team and you're a player I'm not sold on, I'm not just gonna assume you can be the leading scorer for the number 2 seed in the Western Conference. Like Jalen Green, for all his flaws, did have those games where he was going crazy and winning those games.
But I think that like leading scorer on a second seed is misconstrued because they're the second seed because of defense and rebounding,
Not for sure.
not the scoring.
I don't disagree, but he is their best offensive player. And eventually, when you win games, you're gonna have to score at some point.
I
And
think
Jalen Green
Şengün's
has
their
been-
best offensive player.
Huh?
I think Şengün's their best offensive player.
That's fair. That's
Yeah.
fair.
I
But
don't know.
regardless, it's
I
not like
just don't
Şengün's
know.
so good that it's just like, oh, Jalen Green, you're the number 2 for 82 games, because definitely wasn't like that.
Yeah, like no. If I have RJ Barrett instead of Jalen Green, do I think they're still the second seed? I think it's a big possibility. I think RJ Barrett, he's shown it. Star J. That's
Maybe,
his
man.
name. All right.
Do it in 2K.
We're gonna be out of here. Make sure you guys like the stream and subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. And also, if you guys want to name the first player that comes to your head that you think if you swap them out for Jalen Green, they'd be better on the Rockets. I'm interested to hear your guys' answers. But please like the stream. We appreciate you guys. Another late night podcast. We'll see you guys next time.